And welcome back. Now, you may or may not find this hard to believe, but our next guest has been my kumu hula for the last 43 years. And so we welcome to the set here, kumu hula Robert Uluvehi o Napua i Kavekiu o Kalani Cazimero.
Aloha.
Hea mai nei.
Mai ka ino wau hau oli ka uike ana ia olua.
Peia pu.
This is like a party right here on TV.
I tell you, the waiting room was a party because there's so many friends.
I get bento in the back too, yeah?
No kidding. Well, I have a lunch, but let's just move on.
Hawaiian style, they always have food and drink over here.
Wonderful.
That is so important. As I was having coffee coming down here, I was thinking about the fact, I wonder if they have like, a bagel or just a little roll.
You know, there are, Kumu and my family, part of our families are part of mine and all of his are from Kohala. Hawaii, and there's a saying in Kohala, "A'oheu'i hele vale o Kohala," which means the young ones of Kohala never go to someone's home without bringing empty-handed or without bringing something.
And we carry that on to
we
today.
certainly do.
And we're so glad to have you here in our home
I
today,
am
our home
very
for the
honored.
day. You know, we were talking a little bit before we started this actual interview. How many years has the Halau na Kamali been going to Merrie Monarch?
You know, the first time we went was in 1976, and we did so until 79 when we took a little break.
Okay.
And I was able to convince him that we should go like every 10 years, which is, just terrific.
Much more civilized.
Yeah.
You know, in 1979, that was the first time I went to Merrie Monarch with Halau na Kamali, and I was cut from the line before even the first rehearsal.
Well, you had only been in
It was
Halau
like,
for about a year,
Charlie,
right?
not even. Charlie, doho maka'au.
No maka'o.
But manova ke la mana.
And
I remember
look-
that
and
time.
look, Lori.
And
And
look
look
here
where
we
we
are
are
now,
now.
43 years later.
So I have a question, because you have done so many things at the Merrie Monarch Festival, and you've sung, you've judged, you've entered, you've shopped, you've eaten, you've
I've eaten, I've drunk, yes.
inua kena. But what is your favorite role at Merrie Monarch, or a really great memory?
My favorite, that's a two-answer question.
And that was intentional.
Oh, was it? Okay,
Yes.
so my favorite role of being there probably would be shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
because
yeah.
as far as entering the competition is concerned, you're really not a part of anything. You're just there, you do it, and then you're out of there. And then my most favorite thing would have to be the opportunity to see people that you only see once a year. And then the sad part about that is that as they leave, to feel their absence.
Yeah.
And when you've been lucky enough to live, I guess, as long as I'm going on, you miss a lot of those great people. And that's why moments like this are even more special, because we talk about them.
Right. You know, since you mentioned the passing of time, and you've been so last year would have been your 45th.
Fifth, yeah.
Knowing the importance of the halau and how much time and effort and energy has gone into it, all of these amazing olapa and kumu that have come through.
Lucky Val.
Too kind, ho'i oi.
Talk to us a little about that, that kuleana of succession, if you will, and if you have manaʻo or plans to how to ensure that this will continue for halau na Kamali.
This is a really good question, especially coming after the pandemic is sort of like easing off, because when the pandemic first hit and then we weren't allowed to have hula, it just was before Merrie Monarch was to happen. And how it helped me is such a, I had never thought it would be so positive, because I went through things that I thought I had already gone through before. And you find out that as long as you're here, as long as we're here, that there are still lessons to be learned. Now, my darling, people say that to us all the time. But I mean, when you get to be 72, like I am now,
And a beautiful
you would
72.
you would think that I have learned enough. But no, and then this pandemic thing has really taught me that I need to be more present. It's quite a few years ago, one of my students, Vito Baker, asked me, he said, how do you do it? How do you do it? And I thought to myself, one of the best things I ever did was I stopped talking so much and started listening to them. It was one of the most amazing moments that ever happened, because when you only teach kids that are, not that this is bad, but when they're all in high school, and you get them to like they're in their 20s, you have a tendency to believe that they're always going to be your kids. They're always going to be 15, 17. And then suddenly, they have their own children, and they're moving on to different things, and they have ideas too. So as far as the continuation of it, I think for me, even now, it's to you're going to love this. Some people are not going to like this, but you know, some do, some don't. E hola mua.
Oh, yeah.
But I do these little classes on Sundays now with maybe like the maximum would be 5 students, and I do 3 classes on Sunday. And what I've taken to is the fact that in this class you have some young ones, you have the middle ones, and you have the older ones. And so I said to them one day, like, if you were to be a teacher right now, today, if you're a teacher, what would you like to be called? You know, and one boy said, well, you know, my name is Dean, so I want them to call me Dean, you know. And the other 2, who are teachers in language or whatever, said, well, you know, kumu is comfortable. So what I started to do was I'm calling everybody in the class kumu because, listen, I don't care whether you have a kihei or not. I don't care what kind of things we may be learning or have learned in our own way, whether you do makeup, whether you do food, whether you teach, you raise children, you work the land, you are kumu in your own right. And so I call them, if I say to them, okay, you're going to teach this verse, kumu, teach the 3rd verse, you know. And I'm so used to just doing that with them. But if you profess the fact that you want them to be teachers eventually, then you cannot just say one day, hey, you're a teacher. It doesn't work that way, or at least for me, it can't work that way. And so it must be reinforced within the classroom. And how do you learn to become a teacher? I'm your answer.
Yep.
Hopefully. That
You know, there's a
help.
phrase in hula which says ho'olu ia, which means inspired. And we are truly thankful and
Absolutely.
grateful for you taking the time to be here because you are an inspiration to so many apuni kahonua
Well,
around
I'll
the
tell you,
world.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm an inspiration, but I just consider this a party moment and to sit and talk story and
Oh,
to,
yeah,
no.
to look
Oh,
beautiful.
yeah,
You know?
oh, yeah.
So thank you guys. Mahalo nui.
Aye.
And don't go too far. This party is going to continue. He mau hula koe mai ana aloha.